G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Lost with a Travel Guide, and today we've got the one, the only Jesse Burford, who was on Married at First Sight Season 10. Now, we unpacked a few things about life as a marriage celebrant. Of course, did you know he was actually a host for a strip club? And not to mention, we unpack a whole shit ton of information about a Married at First Sight, opinions, storytelling, all the behind the scenes stuff. You're gonna hopefully enjoy this one. I certainly did, with Jesse Burford. Love to see you again. Well, love to see you for the first time because we have chatted on the phone a couple of times, I think.
We've chatted on the phone more than a couple. We've sent plenty of messages to each other, and this is our first Skype, Zoom, whatever. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm loving the attire, a bit of cocaine for the brain.
Yeah. I walked past this in the shop and I was like, this would make for the perfect pajamas. And yeah, it's so cold in my house. I've got gloves on, two jumpers because this is a jumper, and I'm wearing a blanket as well.
Oh, good on you. Yeah, check these out. Got me fucking old man slippers right here. So,
I got slippers on as well.
hey, yeah, just got to do this shit in comfort. Why not? So,
100%.
so what I'd love to be able to chat with you about, because there's so many podcasts and MAFS recaps and all that shit. If we talk about MAFS, fantastic. But what I'm like to do is these type of podcasts is more about stories. You know, who is the other person? So it's a bit more of a serious one. But that being said, pretty sure I know your character. I'm a bit fucking jats crackers between the ears myself. So if it goes a bit crazy, well, then it's all good. Like there's no set way, if that makes sense. We're just going to chat. And we've got a bunch of questions. And I realized one of my questions was from a previous, was from Richard. So I'm not going to ask you, how do you feel about being the most mature maths person in history? That's how professional this podcast is. So,
So you put the call out to your audience saying that you're gonna have a potty with me,
nah,
and
not yet.
okay. I thought you meant like you've had people send questions through.
No. Well, this is how I do it. I'm probably the most unprofessional podcast there is because I got on maths
I
to
know
promote this.
Harrison promotes really bad.
Oh, mate. Well, yeah, I was literally just doing prep and like I got to take that question off. So, but what I'd love to be able to ask you, because you're in Perth, so is that where you grew up? Let's find out
Yep,
who Jesse is.
born and raised in Perth. Man, I spent 20 years living in this house where this is where my office now is. Moved out when I was 20. I lived like a year or two in various suburbs around the place for, yeah, about 8 years. 9 years. And then then MAFS came along. 3 months in Sydney for filming, as you know. Yeah.
Well, I only made it 2 months, but yeah. So you've been Perth, so you never lived in any other states, never lived abroad. You just been born and bred Perth.
Yeah. I've traveled around Australia plenty of times when I
Yeah.
used to play in a band. That was many years ago. But yeah, my only claim to having lived elsewhere is MAFS and it wasn't even 3 months either, bro. I was there for 11 weeks. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you're sort of working. It's not like going on holiday. You're bloody restricted. Like you're clamped down,
yeah,
highly
yeah.
restricted. What was
Yeah.
school like for you?
School was pretty good. I've never had anyone ask me that before. School was good for me, man. I wasn't so much an academic as I was a social guy, and I let my just how much I wanted to be with my friends affect my grades because I had the potential to do well as an academic, but I was just too focused on music, drama, girls, and hanging with the boys. But I had a good time in high school. I didn't get bullied. Yeah, I had a good circle of friends, and yeah.
That's funny. That's almost similar to me. I did a little bit of drama. I did music. I finished like year 12. Like I played performance pieces. I wasn't an academic, but I was one of the social people. So I did like peer support. So that's
Oh,
funny. It's actually quite similar to yourself. I never got bullied, never got picked on. No, I didn't. Yeah, there you go. So what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you know?
Oh,
I was going to be a.
these are questions, man. I wanted to be so many different things. There was one point where I wanted to be a professional surfer. There was a point I wanted to be a dating coach. There was a point I wanted to be a zoologist, go to university and study animals. My God. There was one point because my first job out of high school was as a laborer for a concrete company. And I
Uh,
did that for years and I thought I was going to end up being a tradesman.
yeah.
Um,
So how long were you concreting for?
2.5 years in total.
Did you know I used to do slump testing?
Did I what?
I used to do slump testing, so I used to test concrete.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, fucking many
Yeah.
years ago. So how'd you get into celebrancy?
Oh man, it's a bit of a long story, but so I'll try to keep it as succinct as I can. In the background of every single job that I ever had, I was always performing in some sort of capacity. So when I was a concreter, I was singing in my band. When I was a bartender, I was running quiz nights. Um, when I was in sales, I was the MC for the strippers, right? I've always had performance in the background of whatever else I was doing at the time. So little did I know, I was building up this acumen and this experience being a public speaker. Just in the background, I didn't really realize it until I started going to weddings. I think I was 24 when I went to my first wedding. And I noticed the celebrant absolutely sucked. The wedding was boring. I thought, we've all driven a long way to be here. Everyone's dressed to the nines. And this 25 minutes of ceremony was so lame. And then I went to a few more weddings and the exact same thing happened. And I'm like, if this person is getting paid for this job, I could do a much better job. And maybe I could make a career out of it. I didn't jump straight into it. I let it incubate in my brain for a few years before I pulled the trigger and jumped in. And here I am now, 2.5 years into my career. I just did wedding 83. And yeah, I still like I've only just feel like I've just chipped the iceberg. I feel like there's still so much more I've got to accomplish and yet to accomplish, I mean.
So I figured out a commonality about yourself because music, being a performance at school, and you said a fucking beautiful one that stood out is an MC at a strippers. How the hell did you get that gig?
Well, I was running my own bingo show in like partnership with this venue that I was working at, the same venue that I was the bartender. Um, and I ran that bingo show for 2 years. It was so fun, man. Like traditional bingo, you call a number and it's like legs 11.
Yeah.
But like for every single number I had, I put this hell outrageous joke to it. Some of them that really pushed the boundaries. I wish I could remember. But legs 11, actually, the joke for that was the size of women's jeans that I'm wearing right now. Because I used to wear chicks' jeans. Back then, you didn't have tight fitting jeans. Anyway, I won't get
Oh.
into that. Anyway, so I'm running a bingo show one night and I noticed this set of really hot girls sitting at the restaurant in the back area. They weren't playing bingo, but they were just witness to my bingo show. And one of them came up afterwards and handed me their card and said, "Hey, we just watched you run this show. We want to speak with you." And I looked at the card and it wasn't really a stripper's card. It was like a company card that said, stripping, lap dancing, blah, blah, all this stuff. There was a lot of content on this little card. I was a bit confused. Called them like 2 weeks later and they said, "Oh, we've been waiting to hear from you. We need an MC. We are Penthouse. You've probably heard of us." They told me the whole thing. Come down and watch a show, see if you might be interested. And yeah, went down, caught the show, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're going to pay me 45 bucks an hour to sit at a table very similar to this with a little uh, volume board with a microphone. I wasn't even in front of an audience. I was off tucked away in a corner. No one could see me. I just sat there and just like would say, "Oh, make some noise for Candace. Let's hear it for Pepper." Just random nonsense like that.
All right. All right. How old were you when you were doing that?
I would have been 25.
Fuck, that is like the coolest job in the world as for a 25-year-old. Like, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm the MC at a strip club for Penthouse Pets. It's like, that's like when you're 12 years old, like, what's your dream job as a teenager? That. Getting paid
Yeah,
to be able to do that. So,
yeah.
all right, but
I
what happened at the strip club? Like, was there any sort of juice you want to fucking spill on that? Like, because surely, everyone's here to do a job. You got to, I'd assume, be very professional with the ladies. There's lines that you do or do not cross. But any workplace relationships, sometimes people screw the crew.
Yeah, well, I had the opportunity with a couple of girls, and I don't know, man. It just didn't. I don't know. I'm not generally attracted to that hyper um beauty, you know? That's a bit intimidating to me and a bit like I'm not a hyper image focused guy, so I'm not really drawn to that in the opposite sex. So when the opportunity came my way, I wasn't very much motivated to follow through with it. So yeah, I think that's the most politically correct way I can answer.
I thought I'd do the good one. Then you danced around it. Well done.
Well, I tell you this funny story, man. So for me being the MC at the strippers, you'd think a lot more of my friends would come down and get involved, but they didn't. But the one time that they did, my friend, he had a bit of an attitude with women at the time, and he thought he was all this. And you can't have that attitude towards strippers, mate. They are the ones with the power in that room, and you got to respect that, or they're going to make a meal out of you. And that's what my mate did. One of the girls was giving him a lap dance that he didn't ask for, and he gave her attitude and was like, said something along the lines of, "This isn't impressing me. Um, I think you can do better." And you just do not say that to a stripper. She pulls me out the back and goes, "Jesse, your mate is going to absolutely get it. How dare he speak to me like that?" 20 minutes later, the next set happens. She drags him on stage. There's about 60 people in the audience. Mate, she made a meal out of him, pulled his pants down, ripped his belt out of his pants, slaps him like violently. It was bad. Some of the girls came over and kind of had to like settle her down and kind of pull her off him. The welts on his butt were so bad. It was just horrible to have witnessed. And there I'm supposed to MC and try to make light of this borderline violent scenario that's happening on the stage. Dude,
This guy, it's totally like getting away with abuse on stage as a performance. It's getting away with it, like in front of everyone, being confused as a show. It's actually going fuck you and built the shit out of. In fact,
yeah.
I went to a mate's buck show. It was a private event, but we hired out a hall, so there's like 50 people, and there was a dispute over payment with the stripper. You don't you whatever they charge, you pay up. It's just it's a non-negotiable fee, but they were trying to negotiate prior to her doing a show, and the same outcome. Took off the belt and absolutely fucking whipped the shit out of him. Like it was like everyone sitting there like it wasn't funny. Like is actually getting flogged, and then
Yeah.
she charged full price, and like we still got photos of his back. Like it was, I think it left some welts that just never recovered.
Yeah. Yeah. What you try to bargain less in, you're going to pay in a different area. And I've been to Bucks nights where I've seen not bargaining happen, but I've seen the strippers. It's not fun to watch. Like they really. I'd say, yeah, cross the line. I went to this one where they set the groom on fire. They put all this cream, this flammable cream on him, and then set him on fire. And he shat himself. He was like, and I was a bit like, whoa, what the fuck is happening here?
Is there like a
Yeah.
manager that comes out and is like, Tiffany, you took it too far tonight? Like, how do you regulate that as the MC?
So luckily, none of the girls set anyone on fire when I was working with the company. And really, well, as far as the MC role goes, you definitely have to, and not that you have to, I felt compelled to. I always sided with the girls, you know, because apart from my friend being a little bit rude and arrogant, there were some men who, would get quite touchy and creepy. And that's not something I'm looking to support in any way, shape, or form. So I would always generally pick the girls' side, naturally.
Yeah, I feel you. So that obviously has made you battle hardened. There was a point where you probably just went home with a raging erection. Like, how do I not do this? Is this sustainable? Is this your dream job? You might get married with kids one day and like, what do you do? Oh, I work at a strip club as the MC. Like, is that why you move forward?
No. So that great question. And I was seeing a girl at the time who expressed to me that she didn't like my job. Um, so I understood that. And then what else? I say the first 3 months of the job was absolutely amazing. Like being surrounded by naked women, you're backstage hanging out with them, they're treating you as an equal. It's just was amazing. Then I say the next 6 months was a bit like I kind of plateaued. You just get used to it, and all the girls become your friends. And it's like, you're not. I think your male, what's the word? Instincts kind of shut off because you're just used to it. And
Yeah.
then the first 3 months, I was honestly over it because I wasn't friends with all of the girls. Some of them really thought they were God's gift and prima donna, and thinking that because this is their role, that they can treat people who aren't in that role as a lesser human being. So I really got sick of that. I also got sick of the bikies that would rock up and stand in the corner and yell abuse and heckle me. That I
How do
got over
you
that.
how do you police that? I've had that. I used to DJ nightclubs and I had problems with bikies. That's one of the reasons why I stopped doing it. But did anyone security decide to step up and remove bikies? I guess
No,
they.
not that I
Ah!
saw.
I'm not
I,
editing this podcast. That sneeze is staying.
oh,
Thanks.
yeah, cool. Quality
So,
sneeze. No, security never got involved. And to be honest, what the bikies were shouting out to me was probably more intimidating to me than it was so much a crime of the venue. Like they weren't doing anything that would justify them getting kicked out. I was just ultra intimidated by them. And which lends itself to why I ultimately left the job after 12 months, you
mm,
know.
I feel
But
you.
those first 3 months were the absolute best, man. I thought I'd made it, and I did really think that I was going to stay with Penthouse for a long, long time. But it's funny. After about 3 months, I kind of got over it, and then 9 months, I was like, yeah, ready to move on, and then 12 months, I was over it. Done.
And celebrancy was the calling. When did you have that moment?
I had the moment when I kind of reached like rock bottom with my career stuff because I first thought about being a celebrant when I was 24, 25. And then I went 3 years with that idea marinating. And in that 3 years, I tried car sales. I tried making a full-time job out of the quiz show that I was running at the time. I tried to be a barber. I did 9 months of an apprenticeship before I quit that. And then I went back to hospitality as a barista, wondering maybe I'm going to make a career out of this, and everything just fell flat. And so I was working as a barista for 25 bucks an hour, and I'm just like, gee, I'm a year off turning 30. What the hell am I going to do with my life? And celebrant, like that idea sprang back to the front of my mind. And I jumped on the internet, figured out how I'm gonna do it. I was so nervous, bro, but yeah, I dropped two grand on the online course and started studying January of 2020, just before COVID hit.
Fuck, it's so hard. I've emceed one wedding. Fuck, it was one of the
Mm.
hardest things I've done because of that expectation, like friends and family. And they said they're putting aside a lot of time and energy. the people that are getting married, the expectations that they have, everything want to be perfect, and you want to deliver. Versus me, say tour guiding, like I got a lot of high paying uh, customers, but the expectations is like it's a tour, like things can be clunky. You know, might get bad weather, for example, and you just got to deal with it. But with a wedding, the expectations is up that higher, and it made me so nervous. Like, but you're just flowing through it.
Yeah, it is a very high pressure job. I think you as a celebrant, you're aware of just how much the couple has invested into this day. You know, 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 grand just in the venue by itself. And then there's the dress, there's the rings, there's the flowers, there's the wedding stylists, there's the celebrant fee. It stacks up pretty quick. And when the responsibility is lying across your shoulders to deliver something entertaining, engaging, and worth people's time, the pressure can absolutely get to you.
Is that sort of how did you go from that to maths? Did you apply? Did they hit you up?
I applied. So I'll start from the beginning. I have been tagged to do maths on Facebook for the last 3 or 4 years. You know, all my friends were like, "Bro, you have to do this. You'd be so good on it." You know, and so yeah, once again, another year I was tagged by a few people, and I was like, "Whatever, let's go ahead and fill it out." I didn't have much. I didn't have any hope. I was just kind of killing the time almost. I was at the pub by myself with a beer in front of me, just playing on my phone, filling out the maths form. I didn't even finish it. I got distracted and I put it away. Little did I know that that form you submit or that you fill out with the intent to submit, all of your questions get submitted automatically anyway. So yeah, the submit button doesn't even, it shouldn't even be there because I never pressed submit. I never uploaded a video or filmed a video of me, nothing. And I actually forgot about it. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, production calls me and says, "Hey, are you going to finish off your thing? Like what you've put so far."
Did you do a video at this stage?
Nah, nah. Well, in that phone call, I said, "Oh, yeah, okay. I guess I'll finish it." And not finish it. They said, "We like what you put so far. We're going to skip you ahead like a couple of steps or something like that. Would you like to?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, let's do that." Sorry, that's how it happened.
Yeah. So
That's how.
what year was this? When did you apply?
So I applied in 20, like March of 2022.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was the early stages, if memory serves. So you had or had not sent a video application?
I didn't send a video application at all. I did no filming
Fuck, that
as part.
doesn't add up. That feels like it doesn't add up because, like, if they've got thousands of applicants and you haven't completed it or you don't have a video on there, maybe they knew something about your word of mouth or something. We go, hang on, this guy's worth getting over the line with a half filled out application because you would think they'd just throw that in the bin.
I could give you three ideas as to why. The first is they stalked me on Facebook and Instagram and saw whatever I'd put up on my story on that day. Because I remember at the time I was going through this phase of telling everyone on my Instagram to fuck off. It was just a banter thing. But after every update on my story, I would just the next slide would be now fuck off everyone. Whatever, just this silly thing I was doing. I only had 500 followers, so it was just going out to my core group of friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, they probably liked that. The second reason would be the way I answered the first half of the questions in the application were probably I don't know, maybe they saw villain signs or dollar signs just in those answers. Because I did go I was pretty liberal in answering those questions. I said some pretty outrageous stuff. Like this is the first time I'm actually even going to come out and say this. I told the application that I'm a part of the swingers scene here in Perth.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they also liked the idea that I'm a marriage celebrant. And it's like, how cool is the marriage celebrant? We get a marriage celebrant on because now the table has turned. Now he's the one getting married. So I think there were little things like that which highlighted in me being a villain and being unique in with the marriage celebrant that perhaps got me across the line. I
Mm.
also think this third idea, they just want to take anyone in because they'll just I'm essentially saying they'll fucking take anyone in. Of course, there's a line that you got to cross to be interesting enough, for sure. And it's very easy to tell the people who aren't interesting that they quickly just get rid of. But everyone who crosses that line of being interesting enough, they want to closely inspect everyone to try and get the best cast together that they possibly can. And I'll give you an example why they want so many people. I know in my season there were some cast members who, in the week before filming, they pulled out. They just got the pressure got to them. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm going on Married at First Sight," and they pull out last minute. Production need to have a backlog of cast members to be a last minute replacement. And I know that that happened with my season.
I can verify that because I was when I applied was 2021 through COVID for literally for something to do. Never even watched a fucking show. I watched like 3 or 4 episodes. Nearly made it. All nearly right to the end. I was supposedly going to be on your year. Um,
No.
like even further, like they're like, congrats, pack your bags, let's go. And then my wife pulled out. So because
Uh,
I was nearly in 2 years in a row, I thought, right, I'm a bench player. I'm nearly there. They might find some chick who's more, I don't know, charismatic as me or something, and I'm just there to plug that hole. And I think you're right. I think they pigeonholed me. No matter what, I was fucked as a bad edit because I know my characteristics, I know my flaws, and I just thought maybe they're going to tar me with a shit brush, something awful. Because I also like you and I are very different, but we also every time I chat with you, I'm like, man, we got some funny parallels that you can might poke fun at with a stick, in a negative context, which in every story need good guys and bad guys. So
yeah.
hearing some of your backstory, trying all these different, you got some outrageous stories, working in a strip club to now a swingers scene, concreting to tell everyone to get fucked. I've done stupid shit and posts on social media, which I think's raised some eyebrows. We thought, oh, we like that flavor, and that can be a flavor to create certain narratives. Not I'm trying to blame edits or anything, but I'm just trying to think. You're trying to make a TV show, and if
Yeah.
everyone's fucking positive like Lucinda, well, you're gonna fucking change a channel. You got to have that balance of yin and yang. Like I
Yeah.
think of ultimately there are kind, respectful, positive people that's always gone through the process in terms of being professional, turning up on time and being able to maintain some type of job and perform under pressure. But everyone's got that different flavor. So I find that really interesting on how, because I watched your season more intently because I was supposed to be on it. Like, contract, like everything it was like a done deal. Like it rings everything, like writing the vows, to sign me a producer. And then they're so sorry. It's like, fuck. So I watched your
Yeah.
season with a lot of intensity, thinking what could have been. And then about halfway into it, when everything was going on to Harrison, that's when I started to see this show is so fucking far fetched. I just can't take it seriously. And I'm a big footy fan, and that was also on TV, and ended up changing the channel quite a lot watching the footy, despite nearly being on it. And then when I made it, I'm like, why the fuck was I watching the footy and not paying attention? God damn it. Screwed myself.
Man, Collins from your season, who I
Yeah.
was friends with before this whole maths thing, he was also scheduled to be on my season. And he, just like you, the week before his wife pulled out, or this is what production told him, who
Yeah.
knows what the truth really is.
Yeah.
But he showed me the emails on his phone when he was here in Perth. And they're the exact same emails that they had sent me, only I had, my Claire, who I married on the show, pulled through.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so another example of why they probably accept people who are interesting enough and have that backlog to fill in the people who they know are going to pull out last minute. And hey, it happened in the first week of your season's filming. The gay couple,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
husband who pulled out after
yeah.
a couple of so
Oh man, I seen him. Because we had the Bucks night, which fuck, that was I didn't believe it was even happening because the contracts weren't signed. So I was just waiting for them to cancel on me again 3 years in a row. Anyway, the next day we're doing the contracts day. And
yep,
because I live in Newcastle, I had to stick around and he was off to Adelaide near one of the last flights. Anyway, we were both left in the room together, and there was something wrong with him, man. Like he was off, like he was in his own head, closed off, and I knew something. I thought it was just I don't know, it's pressure of the show, but I didn't realize he was going to pull the plug. So when that news broke, I'm like not surprised. Like there's something off. Not trying to hang shit on him. Like he was cooked. He was checked out during that whole
yeah,
process. But how do you fill the hole? You know, how do you do
that's
it?
it. You got to have 50 or so backups there ready to go that you are holding in like what do you call it? In I guess like purgatory. And who knows? Maybe Collins was a backup, and they were just maybe we all are backups until a few days before because they need to know up until the last moment, are these guys going to pull out or are they going to commit? So maybe they have like 100 people there ready to go, and there's a lot of logic behind that theory.
It's so
If I
hard. So if you are listening to this podcast and you are going to apply and you're going through the process, I tell you, don't have high hopes. It took me 3 years and I only applied the first time, but it's fucking disappointing. Like when yeah, because you know how long the process can be. You can be on hold for a long period and then it's go no, and you got that in the back of your mind, and it's like fuck, this can be life changing, but
Yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
might not be. It's like oh
I
yeah,
tell you, I tell you what's more disappointing. Getting on the show and them destroying your reputation, that is what's disappointing. That's what's sad about the whole thing. It's people don't deserve it. Yeah, you said earlier about people being painted with, being tarred with a brush. Good people get tarred with a bad brush. Some of the villains from my season, you would only think of them as being a bad person because in order to make a good TV show, you need heroes and villains. But the villains on my season are freaking good people, man. And I hate to say it because I didn't get along very well with my partner, despite all the horrible things that I had to deal with having been with her, I still know that there are good things to her as a human being. But the prime example from my season and your season would be Harrison and Jack,
yeah.
right? There's just the way they portray those people are like there are no redeeming qualities about them as a human being whatsoever. They're just bottom scum, terrible people. The truth is they're not. The truth is human beings are so complex. There are so many facets to someone's personality, and when you only choose to show as a TV show one tiny little aspect of someone and you push that to be their entire being, that is disappointing.
I agree. On the other hand, true colors can show when you're under pressure. Like if you're in a relaxed environment, you can focus and navigate and be a bullshit artist. Whereas if you're under pressure, sometimes the truth comes out. So that is I think the key argument. Well, you're on the show, that's their true colors. I think there's validity on that. But as you said, they can choose to show what they want to show. So everyone's good colors came out, everyone's bad colors came out, but they're the puppet masters to pick and cherry pick what they want. And
Yeah.
yeah, as you said, in Harrison's case, he got cherry picked all the negative shit from what I can gather. I will say this about Harrison. I end up getting his details and I left the show, it was a few days in, and I was fucked, man. I was mentally absolutely screwed. And I thought, I didn't know, what do you call up, like mafshelpline.com? It doesn't fucking exist. Like, where do you go? Yeah, and I'm navigating this minefield of like unknowns, friends and family just don't understand. So anyway, I thought, fuck it, I'll give him a call. And we spoke for like about 2 hours, and he doesn't know me. He didn't need to spend time with me. I'm just a random dude. But he set aside the time, and I was sort of in need at that stage. And he just sort of, I didn't agree with a lot of his said, but he gave me that time. He gave me that time of day. And when I hung up, I thought, fuck, that's not what I've seen on TV. Like that was pure kindness. Like I said, I didn't agree with everything he was saying, but that was pure kindness. So it was so kind and understanding and sympathetic, which is all positive, and it just made me think, holy shit, what the fuck? Because I was the expectations I seen from the TV show was completely different from what I received on the phone. And yeah, I still am grateful for that phone conversation. You know what I mean? It's wild.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's why I sometimes go out of my way to stick up for Harrison more than the average person, because I've seen a lot of kindness in that man too. And I've spent hours on the phone with him as well, and having conversations with him and other villains from my season, like Dan, have really helped me to process the head fuck that is having gone on reality TV. So yeah.
well, remember how, just quick change of topic. This podcast is super high quality, and I invest the minimal amount of dollars in it, including this Zoom chat is on a free subscription. So do you mind if I send you another Zoom link and we continue on?
I noticed that before. I said it's like 40 minutes. I'm like, are we going to get cut off at some point? No problem.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like this budget is so fucking shit, but it's my jam. It's I've even nearly thinking about changing the name of the podcast. It's like Poor Man's Podcast or something. Because it's my thing. All right, I'll end it. I'll send you another link.
Nope.
Recording in progress. We're back on it. Yep. And we just done a bit of selfies. So check our Instagrams out. It'll be that, because all my fuck all followers will be able to check it out.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, how much followers you got?
5,000. Woo! So
Really?
I think, yeah, man. I think I've gone down in history as probably the least followed in terms of Instagram. So got my theories on that. Speaking, because we're talking about Harrison, and having good conversations with quote unquote villains. Had good conversations with Jack about that, because I really didn't get along with certain people in terms of production. And it makes sense. Like, if you're not getting along with your workplace, how would that manifest or translate into the edit that you receive? And they also had control of my Instagram. So we were talking about theoretically, how is this? Was I that unpopular? Was it that weird? Possibly, yes. Very realistic. But did they have control? Anyway, we were sort of theorizing how and why this is possible, because I posted some shit on TikTok that's went a bit nuts, and followers and engagement. So we're just sort of strategizing and theorizing, but who, what, where, but don't know. It's a bit of a mystery. But yeah, none of my likable characteristics, let's say, made the cut, which would in turn translate to least amount of Instagram followers. But
yeah, that's what I would theorize. But yeah, much like you, I'm no expert in social media, so
yeah. Well, what we're talking about, Harrison, your best mate. Hey, you having a chat with him?
No, I haven't spoken to him in a few weeks. We send the odd message here and there, but we haven't caught up in a while.
Have you chatted with anyone on the current MAFS season, except for myself and Collins?
Last person I spoke to was Jack, and that only would have been like a 5-minute phone call. I think it was him and Tori. They were on their way to the gym, and then aside from that, he messages over Instagram and stuff. Um, uh, I made the Daily Mail yesterday actually for a comment that I put on Jack's post about him partnering with that sex toy company.
Right. Actually, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, that was you and that was both of us.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We're
How,
just
how, how have I only just remembered this now?
yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. Jack was like, yeah, just rip a comment, something silly, and I'm like, I end up quoting Tropic Thunder, just
Yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
for a sex doll.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So you did the Tropic Thunder quote
Yeah.
about pleasing the shaft or whatever. I
Cradle the
made
balls. We go to cradle the balls, work the shaft, swallow the pipe. Work the pipe and swallow the gravy. Come on, Mo, come here, big boy. Let's do this. Yeah, yeah, that was it.
yeah, and then I made some joke about Jack having a blow up sex doll.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and 24 hours later, we're on the Daily Mail saying that we're posting vulgar content on social media. Like,
Who posted that? Daily
you,
Mail. Which journo? Which reporter?
you didn't see it?
No.
Bro, that's why I'm losing my shit because that like the main feature of the article was the comments that you and I put in it.
Hang on, I'm in this one as well.
You're in it.
Fuck, I gotta read this. I had no idea.
Yeah. The reporter who wrote it up, his name was Jimmy Briggs.
Oh, that dickhead. Hang on.
Well, you're like a dickhead.
Daily Mail. What to put? Okay,
If
we're
you're
doing
gonna
this.
sensationalize Instagram comments between boys, like you're a dickhead, mate. You just do it because that's your job and you're trying to get clicks. And yeah, I wasn't a fan.
All right, I'm just gonna quickly. Okay, this does look fresh. Hang on. We're just getting this up now. If I was smart enough on Zoom, I'd put the article up for all to see.
Yeah,
But my podcast promotes
you that.
vibrators. And I'm just getting it now. Married at first sight groom, shamelessly tall and strong.
Yeah, it
Right,
also
personal trainer. Hang on. Season 10 star Jesse Burford suggested Jack should release his own blow up doll so she could. Meanwhile, star Ben Walt. Fuck. Thanks for. I'm just aware of this. Star. Come on. Ben Walters opted to list all creative ways he could please Jack that there is too graphic to publish. Fuck, I had no idea. Oh, yeah, look, there you go. We're on it. We're on
yeah,
the. Look at the picture they chose of you, fucking unhappy.
yeah.
Oh, at least they got a smile in one of me. Oh, they got that going for me. Fuck, man, they're bored. They're bored. So this
They're
guy.
really clutching at straws for compelling content, aren't they?
Okay, Jimmy Briggs. What's your thought on Mr. Jimmy Briggs? Would you like to give a direct comment of your thoughts?
I think I've already said it before, man. They're looking for any story that they can post to
Yeah.
sensation, exaggerate. Even in the title, it says you and I are taunting Jack. We're not taunting Jack. Jack,
No, he's all
like,
right. He
I
he
just
wanted. Oh my.
I hate the way these reporters frame the scenario using words like we're taunting him and it's vulgar. Like it's not.
It's
It's just the
taken the
boys.
piss. It's taken the
Yeah,
piss. Like I'm quoting a fucking movie that's intentionally outrageous. But then again,
yeah,
come think of it, Tropic Thunder's trying to be cancelled, and Ben still is coming out publicly saying like I'm not apologizing to this movie. It's a fucking great movie. It's hilarious. Most people think it's hilarious, but at the moment, Jack's he's that new Harrison guy. So he gets clicks. People want to anything outrageous that's related with the Jack, people are going to want to tune in. So
Well,
it makes sense.
I think Jack is, and maybe unintentionally, doing himself a good job in turning the narrative around about him. I noticed he's done podcasts where he's spoken really well. A lot
Mm.
of the comments, a lot of comments are negative, but then a lot of them are also like, "Oh wow, you're so different, like off TV, when you
Yeah.
can see him answer full questions without it being cut up and stuff." Um, And yeah, Tori's done, a great job in supporting him and standing by him. So I think that speaks volumes towards his character and his reputation getting redeemed.
You
So
nailed it. That's one of the reasons why I love doing podcasts. Like we are recording right now. I had no idea what you're going to say. I'm getting my phone out, admitting I can't admit on even how to edit. We've had a halfway point because I'm too shit and too poor and just can't be asked to pay full subscription of Zoom. But the viewers are going to get that. The listeners will get that and realize like this is raw as it gets, unedited,
yeah,
unfiltered. I'm just chilling in my house. So you're wearing a fucking slippers. So what's a real version, yeah, of that individual in that? You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
that's one of the reasons why I love doing podcasts and Jack. So yeah, he's gone on podcasts despite them having been edited. It's still rawer. Like I think you've done Yahoo and I did So Dramatic. And the one I did with So Dramatic, I went for about an hour and a half, but she published about an hour 15 of that. And same with Yahoo, they went for like 2 hours, but it published like 45 minutes of it and they chopped it up and made it more condensed.
true,
So
true.
yeah, and like Colin Jackie O hatched up mine fucking big time. So what do you
Yeah,
do? Where that's why I'm like, nah, if I'm gonna do a podcast, like it is so fucking raw because I think that's the beauty of podcasts. If that
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, that's why I do it. Well, it's how
No,
I
I
do it, but anyway.
totally hear what you're saying. And yeah, my recent Yahoo podcast slash interview, mine only went for about 20 minutes, and I think the full video only goes for 15. So there is 5 minutes of context that is lost,
Mm.
and it was a mostly uncontroversial interview with me, but they did post who I thought was being fake or not. Um, yeah, which didn't land well for some cast members. Naturally, of course, it wouldn't land well.
How'd
But
you
yeah,
find how'd you find yours? Like at what point did you sniff out that you were going to get a fucking weird villain shit? I mean, I don't think you got a bad edit. I think you come across quite likable on the show, but there was things that just made that was just totally unfavorable for you.
yeah, and it was towards the beginning. I think like my first couple of episodes, my wedding episode, I definitely come across as the pretty spot on. I know I'm a quirky guy. I know I'm a bit strange and fuzzy around the edges, let's call it. But then they turned it in the last couple of minutes where they really tried to make out that I have this serious problem with Claire's interest in star signs. I didn't. I don't give a shit what you're into. Good for you. And then they made that this whole thing throughout our honeymoon across the next week or two of episodes. So there was about 8 episodes there where I was quite villainous, or not quite villainous. I lent more towards being a villain than being this interesting, quirky, fun guy, which is what I really am. So that first 2 weeks after my wedding episode was the toughest time for me watching the show back because maybe it wasn't a villain edit, but it was an unfavorable edit where they removed so much context from my experience of the honeymoon and my experience of things in general. Yeah, and then by week 3, it started to turn back around for me, and my edit became much more favorable.
Yeah, like you being cheated on was probably the best thing for you. Like when you think
How
about
I
it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm well aware of that, and I've said that to people countless times. Claire having cheated on me did my edit the biggest favor. So in this strange paradoxical way, I got to be grateful for Claire for having cheated on me, because if she hadn't, production would have kept me on that pathway of being an unfavorable groom across the season. And I
Mm.
think and I didn't do myself any favors in that being my, let's call it destiny, because of the way, if we harken back to what we were saying about the application form, I said some pretty silly things, that I'm a part of the swingers scene. I've been single for 7 years or 6 years at the time, and these are the reasons why. Like, they would have just seen reading that this is villain material. So they start you off on that path and they edit you towards that direction, and it just completely ruined their goal when Claire cheated on me. So strange that I got to thank her for that.
Well, what did you watch this series?
I did. Oh,
What
I watched like 40% of it, 30% maybe.
did you happen to see any of that? Because I mean, you're involved in a cheating scandal or on the receiving end of it. What did you think of this year's cheating scandal?
What did I think of it? I didn't think too much of it, and that's not to mitigate your experience in the whole thing. I just thought because I've lived it, I've filmed my own season. Now I watched your season with such a different set of eyes, right? And I knew that what I was seeing wasn't the full picture, and
Yeah.
I only took what I saw with a grain of salt. So what did I truly think about it? Honestly, I didn't give a shit because I knew I wasn't going to see the full picture. And I knew perhaps I probably would never even learn the full picture. I'm probably never going to meet Jono. Lauren and I don't have a good relationship. And yeah, you and I live in different cities.
I feel you. I've watched my girlfriend flicks on the TV sometimes go, oh, it's some reality show from England or something. It's like, I can't fucking watch it. Like, knowing what I know with the behind the scenes on how it's not edited, not fucking scripted, but it's just how it's structured and placed together with intent. I can't consume it without that. No, it's once you become conscious or aware of something, you can't unlearn that knowledge. It's hard for me to not dissect it. It's like, I mean, you play music, right? Like when you learn an instrument and you hear a song, you never sort of hear it in the same way if you learn how to play it. You know, this is how it's constructed, right? Whereas certain songs that are so fucking epic, I will never want to learn it because it'll fucking ruin the magic.
Yeah, bro, I feel that on a deep, deep level, man. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like removing the mystery of the song when you learn how to play it. It's like, oh, so this is what they've done. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Or certain magic tricks. Like you always want to ask the magician, how'd you do it? It's like, you know what? Maybe I won't. Maybe I want to keep the magic there. It's because there's a Mark Twain quote. I fucking love it. And it's easier to fool someone than to show them how they were fooled. And I feel reality TV does that. I mean, I think politicians even do that.
Yeah, mate, great analogy to use, mate. Great analogy to use.
But now we have that knowledge, and now it's fuck TV. It's fuck me entertainment.
It's fuck TV for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I think if you apply that same lesson to the masses who watch MAFS, they don't want to know or hear about the edit, because they have a better time believing that us blaming the edits is fiction, right? Because if they really knew what goes on behind the scenes and how MAFS delivers this product to them that absolutely brainwashes them, then they would lose all fun experience that they have in watching it. Because the majority of people watching MAFS work a 9 to 5, they come home, they want to switch off their brain and watch just TV where they don't need to think. That's the enjoyment in reality TV. It's brain dead TV. And I'm not saying the audience are brain dead for watching it. I'm saying that's what happens. You switch off. You stop stressing about your job, your relationship, the bullshit in your life, and you just digest this nonsense that are happening in what you perceive to be other people's lives. But what you actually perceive is a flawed edit.
Yeah. It's such a tough one because I agree with 100% what you're saying, but there is some truth that's made it on the other side of the screen. But once you learn it's from an entertainment perspective and you've witnessed how the television production show has created that because you've seen and witnessed its it in its entirety, it's so hard to not think or understand that. And probably, yeah, maybe that best analogy is like musicians. Like, if you want to show someone, like, I play guitar, obviously, it made the fucking show terrible, but it takes so many fucking years of practice to get good, and dedication and work and be able to put
Yeah.
that together. So someone's go, "Oh, Ben, teach me how to play guitar." I'm like, "Well, how committed are you? Like, you want to do half hour a day? Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's go through it." I feel like the same sort of like reality TV in a way. It's like, oh, it's just edited. Fuck off, it is. So you go, bro, I need an hour of your focus to break it down point by point. And then they go,
Yes.
shit, you're right. But you haven't got time to do that. It takes
Yeah.
so much time and energy and effort to be like, yeah, it must have happened. Like, it's exhausting where if you're sitting in that situation and go, yeah, it's just a show, mate. It's just a TV show. Whatever. That's probably my quickest response to try to exit that conversation. But, if someone's got the intelligence and actually want to sit down and go, okay, Ben, blame the edit. How's this going to be? I'm like, all right, well, give me the time of day and give me maybe 20 minutes or so, and I can explain it. But it's people don't want to learn, and people, I don't blame them. Like, why would you want to waste your time? People's got their own shit, their lives, and you got to be on the receiving end of that. But it's a funny one. It's having that knowledge, which, and I find that, like, that's why I think with yourself or someone like Harrison, or I've chatted to other people on other shows. Like a guy I traveled with, he was a TV show host of Too Hot to Handle in the United States. But you have that look or that understanding when you meet someone who's partaken in a reality TV show. You get the nod of like, this person gets it. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like being a metalhead, because you and I have the same sort of music taste. They're like, you got to be fucking mental to listen to metal, and I'm a bit mental.
Yeah,
So
right.
you meet someone else, go, oh, you listen to some hardcore shit. You get the you get each other. You get it.
Bro, there's this classic. I'll send it to you after, and anyone who's listening, if you want to search this on YouTube, there's the overweight man on YouTube who's wearing the Slayer shirt, and he's like Slayer, and he uses the example of when you walk down the street and you see someone wearing a Slayer shirt, you just know.
Yeah.
And in those three words, you just know. He says million different things. But how many times has that happened to you, where you see someone wearing a System of a Down shirt, Lamb of God shirt, Slipknot shirt, and you just know. You know that music, you get heavy music, and then in a strange way, you get them as a human. You haven't even met them.
It's like a tribal thing, but I don't think it exists in any other music form. Like rappers that, it's a niche sort of music genre. However, they're sort of comparing. They're not like part of the unity that united. Hey, we consume the same music content that we appreciate. It's like, well, my rapper's cooler than your rapper, or I like this pop artist better than. It's sort of. I even find that in the music scene at festivals. Like, you go to like a dance festival, everyone's sort of there for themselves. Like, they're the show, shirts off, fucking pumping. But you go to a metal show, everyone's there as this community. Like, no one's a dickhead. Everyone's appreciating the music because we're all fucking mental enough to listen to this shit, and we're just like consuming it. It's so hard to articulate.
No, I completely understand, because I've been to those dance festivals, and the focus on the artist and watching the artists is greatly reduced. Whereas at a metal festival, everyone is watching the band play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love what you said then, man. I totally relate.
Well, I got to ask you, because we will be running out of time. I feel like we can just keep talking for hours and hours and hours.
We could.
So, firstly, how many metalheads are a celebrant? Are you the first?
There's one other guy in Perth. He's not as far down the rabbit hole as me. You could call him maybe a rock celebrant.
That's That was a shit
across.
question. I thought you had to be the only one. Like, oh, it's actually a guy down the road who's a metalhead as well. Yeah.
Well, he's definitely like. Nah, he definitely doesn't strike how do I what analogy do I use here? I'm more metal than him. Simple
Got
as
you.
that. I'm way more metal. Yeah. But anyway, across the rest of Australia, I honestly don't know. I also don't really market myself too heavily as this heavy metal celebrant. I market myself as the fun celebrant with tattoos who likes the heavy music, but it's my weddings are fun. So
Perfect. All right. We've got a few more questions and we'll play a little game, then that'll be the wrap it up from there. So next year, I think they're casting for MAFS at the moment. So if someone is applying for MAFS right now, what would be the biggest recommendation or suggestion for them?
God, that is such a big question. The first, I would say, don't do it. Honestly, don't. I don't think it's worth it. Um,
Why?
uh,
Why not? Why isn't it worth it?
because I've seen and experienced the suffering that comes with the any idea of glory from having done the show. And I am someone who got a mostly favorable edit, and I've reaped the benefits as much as I can, but I've bared witness to people who get a bad edit and how much they suffer. And so that's what I don't think it's worth it over you being the person that gets the bad edit and having to suffer. It's not worth it. It's not worth the suffering that you could potentially endure.
So it's like doing a risk analysis. Like you probably
Yeah,
got a 50-50 chance, like half the cast get painted in some type of shit way and half the cast maybe in a good way. So it's significantly a high probability you're going to have to eat a shit sandwich, and it's not an easy shit sandwich. It's fucking. I feel you. I feel
yeah,
I understand that 100%.
yeah. I think if you average it out, of course, you've got a 50-50 chance of getting a good or bad edit. I think the odds are furthermore against you if you are a male as
Mm,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, if you go back across the seasons and you say, were they more villainous or more heroic, you could select a lot of the grooms as being, yeah, they were mostly villain.
I think it makes sense if you reverse engineer the show. It's predominantly female tuned into reality TV or particularly maths. So the lens of a narrative or a ethical situation or the values would be done from a female's perspective, not a well-rounded perspective. So I think there is some favoritism. If there's a good or a bad situation, it's 50-50. It's going to lean towards a female's perspective.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people might change
Yeah.
the channel.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of reasons for that. I also think, and I think the majority of that reason would be the predominant audience of MAFS is female.
Yeah.
So and they're catering towards that audience.
So can I ask you, what's your biggest regret?
Man, I don't know. There's plenty of things I regret or wish I had done better, but it's like, mm, I think like having trusted production. But then I can't really regret that because in the time that I did it, that's the only choice I had. So I couldn't have like I couldn't have made a better choice in that time. My biggest regret.
Doesn't have to
Yeah.
be about maths. Could be just be about life.
Oh, okay. I regret having let down my friend Courtney in in high school. Courtney asked me to be her date to the ball, and I rather than catch a limo with her and all of her friends and be a part of the day alongside her as my date and as her partner to the year 12 ball, I told her that I'm catching a bus with my mate who wasn't a part of any limousine or anything. He had no way of getting to the ball. And I was like, I can't leave my boy. So I told Courtney that I'm going to catch the bus. And she had these high hopes of having a great night with me as her date and going to the year 12 ball. And I just let her down. And she ended up ditching me. And rightfully so. And I never got to speak to her again. I haven't spoken to her in like 14 years. And I really regret having done that and just being naive and young and silly because I lost a good friend. We were good friends in high school. Yeah.
Are you in contact with her now?
Nah, I haven't seen her since high school. I think I saw her once in the shopping center. I was like,
Is there a friend of a friend that you can tag her on Instagram or send her this message?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. In 2024, I'm sure there is some way that she would be able to see this.
Tag her in,
And
find her. If you somehow give me the details, something can just be a random tag. But it's like skip to minute whatever we're at.
Yeah, all right. Let's do it, and we'll see. Hopefully, it makes her feel a bit better.
All right. So what we're going to do? We're going to play a little game because we'll try to finish things on a high note. We're a little bit deep there. So we'll play a little game. Say the first thing. I'm going to say something, and then say the first thing that pops to mind.
I'm ready.
Okay. Jack.
Gains.
Harrison.
Feminism.
John Aiken.
Oh, can I swear?
Fuck yeah.
John ate cunt.
Why is he a cunt?
Oh, I just think he's just a little puppet dancing to the strings pulled by production. And I think he and the other experts contribute greatly towards someone's edit, and they contribute greatly towards Australia liking or disliking someone. And I think everything that they say is scripted. It's not genuine. They're fake as fuck. And I honestly, I don't know how they sleep at night.
I feel you. I think you feel more strongly than me. I've come out sort of publicly and give my thoughts on John Aiken, but in terms of being an expert that is happily sleeps well at night, kicking people while they're down as part of your job, mate, he can eat shit as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he's a rap. They're all raps, mate.
All right. First thing coming to mind when I say OnlyFans.
Money.
So you're going to do it.
Yeah, I could have done it. You know, Bronzy made 250 grand in her first month on OnlyFans, and she didn't even get the pussy out. It's just titties. 250 grand for titties.
And not a beer in it for you, is there?
No, I asked Bronzy if she'd send me her nudes, and she said I got to subscribe. I was like,
fucking gutted.
Yeah. I thought we were close enough that she would just send me the nudes, but
you are selling your soul, and it is a cost where I'd possibly consider that. That is a fucking lot of money. You know?
Yeah. God, if I had done it and earned even half of what Bronzy did, I could have a house. I could have bought an apartment. You know, like
I always think if you're a prostitute, it's like why charge for your body $500 there, whatever the fucking is, versus cashing in big time. So I guess doing the good thing there and capitalizing, well done. On the other hand, you are selling your fucking soul where, if you got a partner moving forward or having children, they're raised up and go, oh, what'd you do to make money, mum? That. Like that's, you've got that and at what cost? And I think there's anyway, that's my opinion on it. I respect it, but not.
Right.
It's like an easy way out to make money. I don't know. That's people debate me that for fucking months. Okay, a couple more things. First thing come to mind when I say paparazzi.
Ali.
Hey, shout out to Ali. Wants me to
Yeah.
fucking do boxing matches. We'll see about that. Mate, I'll get my fucking head knocked off. Um, dinner party.
Cringe.
Yes.
Food.
First thing to come to mind when I say online trolls.
Maggots. Lifeless. Get a life.
Last one, commitment ceremony.
Fraudulent. Bullshit.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you for playing that little bit of a tongue twister game. I never know what's people's going to say when I do that one. We got about 5 minutes left before this wraps up. So, would you like to tell everyone what is in store for 2024 with Jesse?
Well, let's take a look here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've got about 25 weddings for the rest of this year. So I'm going to focus on absolutely dominating those weddings. I'm going to take a few steps closer to being known as one of the best celebrants in Australia. And just walk more tall and strongly down towards that path. That's what I'm doing, man.
That's unreal. One of my best mates is a celebrant up in Darwin, but he's from Perth, and I think he might be heading your way. So maybe you can link up, or he's become competitors. I would imagine he was on MAFS. He had 2 seconds of fame. Poor bastard got cut out one of the scenes too.
He was the celebrant on MAFS.
No, well, he's a celebrant. He's a tour guide friend of mine up in Darwin, but I think he's from Perth. So I'll definitely we'll definitely link up once I pay him a visit when that eventuates, of course. He was on the show for like 2 seconds, and then they do like homestays and shit. So there's this whole scene where he was in it and had Ellie and her cut. There was this whole, and it all got cut. So he was fucking gutted. That was his moment, just got snipped entirely. Poor bastard.
Yeah. The amount that gets just like left on the cutting room floor is just
Yeah. It was I think it would have worked in my favour because everyone's being a cunt to me except for Mark. So they probably I would have been the victim in that situation, I felt, but yeah, got cut. So what do? Just got to eat it, move on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But Jesse, any final words or thoughts? Because we got about 3 minutes to go.
No, mate, just this has been a very enjoyable last hour and a half or however long we've been chatting for. I'm glad we finally got to do this, and I've had a really enjoyable time. Thank you.
Mate, you're not a star, you're a superstar. Appreciate it.
Thank you. A pleasure.
You've made it to the end of the podcast. All right. Now, if you've enjoyed this chat, please give us a like, subscribe, or leave a juicy comment while bearing in mind I've kept this podcast to an absolute near $0 budget. So I hope you enjoy. See you next time.